Picture this. You awake from an incredibly uneasy sleep. You're just completely drenched in sweat.
Oh, yeah, the worst feeling.
Right. Your heart is absolutely pounding in your chest, your guts are churning, and you find yourself literally gasping for breath.
Like you've just run a marathon in your sleep or something.
Exactly. And you're caught in this bizarre, disorienting space where, like, one foot is still lingering in the world of a nightmare, and the other foot is just hopelessly tangled up in a suffocating duvet.
Yeah.
So you finally manage to roll over, you look at the digital clock on your nightstand, and the glowing red numbers read exactly 3 a.m.
Always.
Always. And you have this overwhelming, heavy feeling of impending doom just sitting on your chest. But you have, absolutely no idea why.
I mean, it is a profoundly universal experience.
Yeah.
That sudden jolt from unconsciousness into just sheer panic and perfectly timed to the exact same hour of the night. It's something that transcends geography, it transcends culture.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a phenomenon that bridges the gap between, well, our own internal neurochemistry and absolute paranormal terror, which is the devil's hour.
Right.
We are using this incredible breakdown by the YouTube channel Hauntly, which forces us to look really closely at what our physical bodies are actually experiencing and potentially fighting against in the dead middle of the night.
It's a really fascinating source.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this, because before we even touch the supernatural elements, the hauntings or the demons,
Some of the scary stuff.
right, all that stuff, we have to establish the baseline of what the human machine is doing at this specific hour.
Yeah, and the historical context that Hauntly brings into this is just critical, because we often assume the 3 a.m. phenomenon is, just a modern internet creepypasta.
Like something born on Reddit message boards or whatever.
Exactly. But this specific time frame was actually first cited in psychological literature way back in 1835.
Wait, 1835?
1835. Think about the landscape of psychology in the mid-19th century. We were just beginning to systematically observe and categorize the mind and its ailments.
Right, they didn't have MRIs.
No, exactly. Researchers didn't have brain scans, they didn't have sleep studies. They relied entirely on clinical observation. And even then, they identified the window between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. as an anomaly.
Wow.
They started that this is when an individual is most likely to experience a so-called paranormal event.
And they zeroed right in on 3 a.m. as the absolute peak of that strange activity.
Yeah.
And what makes that 1835 observation so brilliant to me is that it predates our modern understanding of human biology entirely, yet it maps perfectly onto it.
Oh, flawless.
Because biologically speaking, 3 a.m. is the exact time your body reaches its absolute peak production of melatonin.
Right. By 3 a.m., your circadian rhythm has just totally flooded your system. You are submerged in the deepest, most restorative phases of rest.
Slow wave sleep, right?
Yeah, characterized by slow delta and theta brainwaves.
But, I have to push back on the biology here just a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Because this is where the logic in the source material feels almost entirely contradictory to me.
How so?
Well, if melatonin is the chemical that effectively powers down our systems and puts us into that relaxed, deep sleep state,
Right.
shouldn't its absolute peak mean that we are resting peacefully? Why would our peak relaxation chemical be biologically linked to our peak moments of heart-pounding terror?
What's fascinating here is that the contradiction is the exact mechanism of vulnerability.
Wait, what do you mean?
So the analysis resolves this paradox by pointing out that the relaxed state of mind is precisely what leaves us exposed. The peak melatonin isn't causing the terror itself.
Okay.
Instead, it places the human mind into such profoundly deep state of sleep that our normal, waking, rational defenses are completely powered down.
Oh, I see.
When you are fully awake, your conscious mind is a fortress. It constantly filters out sensory anomalies. It rationalizes strange noises.
Like the house said.
Exactly. It actively protects your psyche. But at 3 a.m., under that massive flood of melatonin, the drawbridge is essentially down.
So the biological relaxation isn't a shield. It's actually stripping away our armor.
Yes, precisely.
We are chemically defenseless, and our rational filter is just totally offline.
You are biologically disarmed. Without the conscious mind to act as a bouncer, if you will, the subconscious is entirely malleable.
It's just taking everything in.
Right. It processes raw data without the safety net of logic to say, hey, that's just the wind.
And that biological disarmament creates a massive opening, which aligns perfectly with the psychic interpretation of this phenomenon that the source dives into.
It really does.
Because if our psychological guards are completely dropped by this melatonin flood, we have to ask what we are suddenly exposed to.
Right. What's coming in when the drawbridge is down?
Exactly. And Huntley introduces a very specific psychic belief regarding this 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. window. It's the concept of the veil between our physical waking world and the spirit world being lifted.
And the mechanics of this veil are really crucial to understand here.
Yeah.
During the day, the barrier between our reality and whatever lies beyond is thick. It's opaque. Our world is loud. It's flooded with sunlight, kinetic energy, conscious thought.
Too much interference.
Way too much interference. But at 3 a.m., the physical world is quiet. Our brainwave activity slows to a crawl. In that environment, the barrier becomes thin, transparent, and perhaps even fully permeable.
Because our minds are just bathed in melatonin, resting in that highly relaxed state, we become deeply susceptible to whatever might be crossing over that thin veil.
Right.
But the breakdown gets incredibly specific about the physical reaction to this.
Yeah.
It claims the reason you jolt awake, that gasping, sweating, terrified waking we talked about,
Yeah.
is because a spirit is actively trying to communicate with your soul. But your physical body is violently rejecting that connection.
It's the separation of the physical body and the ethereal soul acting in direct conflict.
Wow, okay.
The soul, operating without the rational mind's protection, might be fully accessible to these entities, but the physical body intervenes as this sort of autonomous guardian.
So what does this all mean? If I can try an analogy here, it sounds almost exactly like a biological reflex,
Okay, go.
like a spiritual immune system response.
Yeah.
If your body detects a virus or, you inhale a piece of dust, you don't consciously decide to act.
Right, you just cough.
Exactly. Your autonomic nervous system just takes over and forcefully coughs to expel the invader. It rejects it to protect you.
That's a great way to put it.
So what's being suggested here is that your physical body jolting you awake at 3 a.m. is the spiritual equivalent of a cough. It is your body forcefully coughing out an unwanted ethereal connection that is trying to latch onto your soul while your conscious defenses are down.
That analogy perfectly captures the underlying mechanics here. It paints the physical body not just as this, meat vessel, but as an active, highly protective system.
Yeah.
The body senses a trespasser attempting a profound level of communication when the veil is at its thinnest, and it triggers an emergency override.
An emergency override. I love that.
Think about the physiological symptoms you described earlier, the sudden spike in heart rate, the flood of adrenaline, the cold sweat.
Yeah, the total panic.
That is your sympathetic nervous system slamming the brakes on your delta waves. It forces an abrupt transition from deep sleep to sudden, panicked wakefulness.
Wow.
It is an emergency protocol designed to literally shatter the connection and pull the soul rapidly back into the physical, conscious world.
That is both incredibly comforting, knowing my biology is looking out for my soul, and absolutely terrifying knowing what it is actually looking out for.
It's definitely a double-edged sword.
Which naturally leads to the next massive question. If our bodies are deploying this intense emergency response, what exactly is so threatening about that specific hour?
Right.
Now that we understand the biological how, we have to answer the much darker historical why. Why is 3 a.m. the chosen hour for malevolent forces?
The shift to 3 a.m. as the focal point of supernatural terror has deeply rooted theological origins.
Yeah, the source goes deep into this.
It really does. The timing is far from random. It is described structurally as a deliberate demonic inversion.
A mocking of the death of Jesus Christ.
Right. According to ancient theological writings and Christian traditions, Christ died on the cross in the middle of the afternoon.
At 3 p.m.
Specifically, yes, at 3 p.m.
So the forces of darkness take that sacred hour of ultimate sacrifice and intentionally flip it. The direct inversion of 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Yes.
And Huntley points out this isn't just symbolic, it's considered a literal tool used by demons. They use this inverted hour specifically to plague and torment humans, to maximize the blasphemy of the timing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate psychological warfare.
Yeah.
It is a desecration of time itself. By choosing the exact opposite hour of the day, malevolent entities are believed to be actively insulting the divine.
They're making a statement.
Exactly. They take a moment of holy significance and turn it into a playground for terror. And what makes this theological concept so incredibly compelling is how effectively it bridges the gap between ancient fears and modern reality.
And that bridge is built almost entirely on true crime and the media we consume today.
Oh, heavily.
Horror filmmakers don't just use 3 a.m. because it sounds spooky.
Yeah.
They use it because it is already hardwired into our collective psyche.
Right, it taps into something we already dread.
Exactly.
Right.
And Huntley points to Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. as a prime example. DeFeo murdered 6 members of his own family in their beds.
The Amityville case.
Yes, the inspiration for the Amityville horror. And the time of the murders wasn't some Hollywood invention to make the story scarier. Precisely 3:07 in the morning is the actual police record.
Which is chilling.
It really is. That undeniably real violence validates the ancient theology for people.
And filmmakers understand the immense power of that validation.
Oh, absolutely.
When you watch a movie like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is also supposedly based on true events, the strange, horrifying occurrences all deliberately cluster around this exact same time.
Right.
The hour itself becomes a hostile character in the narrative.
It trains the audience. The inclusion of a digital clock reading 3 a.m. triggers a biological response in the movie theater because we already have that subconscious dread built into us.
We do. We anticipate the scare.
But the analysis of The Conjuring in the video adds a brilliant nuance to this. In The Conjuring, the paranormal events take a seriously bad turn when the clocks stop at exactly 3:07 a.m.
Yeah, 3.07.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Why 3:07? Why not just hit 3:00 on the dot? Does adding those random 7 minutes somehow make the myth feel even more threateningly real to us?
I think so. The psychology behind that specific time, 3.07 a.m., is just a masterclass in modern terror, really,
Yeah.
because it shatters the artificial neatness of a story.
Right, it's not a perfect round number.
Exactly. When things happen right at 3 a.m. on the dot, it feels almost theatrical. It feels mythic, like a storybook curse operating on a perfect, predictable schedule.
Like the ghost has an alarm clock.
Exactly. But 3.07, that feels chaotic. It feels organic. It suggests that the evil didn't just politely punch a clock at the top of the hour.
Right.
It implies a slow, agonizing bleed of malevolent energy. The entity crossed the veil at 3.0, gathered strength, permeated the physical space, and finally culminated in the complete stoppage of time 7 minutes later.
It takes the ancient, clean theology of the 3.0 inversion and makes it messy and totally unpredictable.
Yes.
Taking something sacred, flipping it into a dark mirror image, and then letting it play out in the chaotic reality of a suburban home at 3:07 a.m.
It grounds the ancient fears in a very mundane object we all have in our bedrooms, a clock.
A simple alarm clock.
Right. It turns the digital readout on our nightstands into a literal threat indicator. By tying the 1835 psychological literature, the biological vulnerability of our melatonin peak, and the cultural weight of demonic inversion to a glowing red number, it just cements the devil's hour deeply into our modern consciousness.
It is the absolute perfect storm of human vulnerability. You have the neurochemistry dropping your defenses, the psychic veil thinning, and centuries of theological dread backing it all up.
It's everything all at once.
Which brings this entire deep dive right back to where we started, right back to your bedroom. Because the next time you find yourself staring at the glowing numbers of your alarm clock at exactly 3 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart racing, and tangled up in your duvet,
Yeah, you're going to be thinking about this.
you are going to have to ask yourself a very difficult question. Is what you are experiencing just a 19th century psychological quirk?
Just a trick of the mind.
Right, just an evolutionary side effect of your brain processing anomalies during peak melatonin production. Or is the veil actually lifted? Is there a spirit standing right next to your bed in the dark?
It is a question that completely changes the fundamental architecture of how we view our own sleep.
Definitely.
But based on the mechanisms we've unpacked today from the source, there is actually a much darker, a much more provocative thought to leave you with.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's accept the premise that waking up in a panic during the devil's hour is your physical body successfully throwing up an emergency defense.
The spiritual cough, like we said earlier.
And exactly, the spiritual cough. If that sudden jolt awake means your sympathetic nervous system successfully rejected a spirit that was actively trying to communicate with your unprotected soul,
Okay.
then the truly terrifying question isn't why you wake up at 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
The truly terrifying question is what it means when you sleep peacefully right through the devil's hour.
Wait.
Because if waking up means your body successfully rejected the spirit, does sleeping through the night mean a spirit tried to communicate with your soul and your body accepted it?